So in this lecture we are going to discuss about quenching. Now in a GM counter, each pulse corresponds to one particle entering the counter. So each pulse that you get across the resistor R, which is attached in the external circuit, so the pulse that you get across the resistance R corresponds to one particle entering the counter. So if one ionizing particle enters the counter, it ionizes the gas molecules. So it will ionize the gas molecules, it will form electron and the corresponding positive ion. So those electrons, they will start drifting towards anode, and since high electric field is applied between cathode and anode, high electric field is applied to this, high voltage is applied to this GM tube, due to which high electric field is present between cathode and anode, due to which the electrons, they get more kinetic energy, and due to this high kinetic energy they start making the Townsend avalanche. So they lead to Townsend avalanche, and one avalanche triggers another avalanche in the case of GM tube. So this is called as Geiger discharge. So large number of avalanches are formed across the anode wire. Across the anode wire, large number of avalanches occur, means whole of the gas around this anode wire gets ionized. And this is called as Geiger discharge because large number of electrons will be reaching the anode. So at the initial stage, there was only one electron, you can say. So when the ionizing particle entered the GM tube, there was one electron and positive ion, and as this electron started drifting towards the anode wire, its velocity increased and its kinetic energy increased, due to which large number of avalanches occurred, and hence large number of electrons were eventually reaching the anode wire, and this is called as Geiger discharge. So when all these electrons, they flow in the external circuit, when they flow through the resistor R, they give us a pulse, and that single pulse that you get, due to all these electrons you get a single pulse, and that single pulse tells us that one ionizing particle has entered the counter. So if one ionizing particle enters, there is ionization, primary ionizations are there, and these primary ionization causes further avalanches, due to which you get a single pulse, means for one ionizing particle you get one pulse in the GM counter. Now we are going to discuss about quenching. Now as we know that when an ionizing particle enters the GM tube, the primary ionizations are caused, and due to these primary ionizations, Geiger discharge occurs, and these positive ions are formed across the anode wire. So this we have already discussed in the previous lecture, that we get a positive charge cloud around the anode wire. Now these positive ions, they drift towards the cathode with a lesser speed as compared to the electrons. But when these positive ions, they reach the cathode wall, when they reach this cathode wall, what happens in that case? So as soon as this positive ion reaches the cathode, it takes an electron from the cathode wall and gets neutralized. So one electron is taken away by this positive ion, and this positive ion gets neutralized. But what happens in addition to this process? So this is the very common process that occurs, that if there are two electrodes, so if there are two electrodes, one is positive and another is negative, and here you have negative charge and here you have positive charge. So this negative charge, so this electron, it reaches the positive electrode, and this positive ion which is formed, when it reaches this negative electrode, it takes one electron from this electrode and gets neutralized. And to compensate that electron, this electron, it flows through the circuit and reaches this electrode. So this is how this process works. So in this case also the same thing will happen when these positive ions reach towards the cathode, and when they reach the cathode wall, they will take one electron from the cathode wall and they will get neutralized. But what happens in addition to this process in this GM tube? As we have applied high voltage to this GM tube, so these positive ions, they will hit this cathode wall with some energy, and this energy releases electron from the cathode surface. So when these positive ions, they collide with the cathode walls with some certain energy, some electrons could be released in this process from this cathode wall, and when these electrons, they are released in this GM tube, these electrons, they can cause further avalanche, and hence you can get another pulse in the circuit. So when these positive ions, they reach the cathode, they will take up one electron and they will get neutralized. But in addition to this process, what can happen is that when this positive ion reaches, it hits this cathode wall with some certain energy. That energy releases electrons from the cathode surface, and those electrons which are released, they will cause avalanche in the GM tube again, and again you will get a pulse. As we have said, in the GM counter, each pulse corresponds to one particle entering. So when you get a pulse across the resistance R, that means one particle has entered the GM tube. But as you can see over here, that when positive ions hit the cathode wall, then some electron is released in this process, and this electron will again cause avalanche. It will again cause Geiger discharge in the tube, and hence you will get a pulse. So that pulse is a false pulse. That is not we are expecting. So this pulse is a false pulse, and this must be prevented, because number of pulses in the GM counter means number of particles which are entering. So the particle that has entered is just a single one. So when this particle enters, Geiger discharge occurs and you get a single pulse. But if some electrons are released from the cathode, these electrons will again cause Geiger discharge and you will get a pulse, and that pulse is a false pulse. So you will start getting multiple pulses. So these must be avoided. So if a GM tube is filled with a single gas, let's say argon, then all the positive ions formed are of that same gas. After the primary Geiger discharge, after the first Geiger discharge is terminated, after this first Geiger discharge terminates, positive ions slowly drift towards the cathode. These positive ions, they slowly drift towards the cathode. At the cathode, they get neutralized by combining with an electron from cathode surface. So this is the same process which I explained over here. Now the excess energy of these positive ions is released, and this energy releases electron from the cathode surface. This electron which is released from the cathode surface drift towards the anode. So this will drift towards the anode, and as it will drift towards the anode, it will trigger another avalanche, means another Geiger discharge will occur. So multiple pulsing will occur in that case. Multiple pulsing will happen in that case, and these multiple pulsing must be avoided, and these are the false pulses. So what do we want in GM tube is that when one ionizing particle enters, you get a single pulse around the resistance R. But in this case, you can see that you start getting multiple pulses even if no particle has entered. So this must be prevented, and for this we use quenching techniques. So there are two methods, that is to prevent the multiple pulsing. There are two methods. First is external quenching and another one is internal quenching. So the external quenching, we will study this external quenching, but this quenching technique is not used nowadays. So this internal quenching is very common. Now we are going to discuss about the external quenching technique. As we know that the positive ions, when they reach the cathode, they hit with a certain energy, and this energy is due to the high electric field which is present. So if by some technique we reduce this electric field, if for some time we reduce the voltage around the GM tube, then the positive ions won't be hitting with large amount of energy, and in that case no electron will be released from the cathode wall. So if the positive ion is drifting towards the cathode and there is high electric field, as we have said in GM tube there is high electric field present, so these positive ions, when they will hit the cathode wall, they will hit with certain energy, with large amount of energy, and in that process they will release electron from the cathode wall. So to prevent this thing to happen over here, what we can do is we can reduce the voltage across the GM tube for some time. For some time we reduce the voltage, and that we do in external quenching. And how do we reduce the voltage for some time? The technique is to increase the value of this external resistance R. So if you increase the value of the resistance R, then automatically the drop across the resistance R will be high and drop across the GM tube will be less. So for some time we will decrease the value of voltage across the GM tube by using high resistance. So external quenching consists of some method for reducing the high voltage. So we reduce the high voltage for some time, and in this case no electron will be released from the cathode wall. So for a fixed time after each pulse, so when you have got one pulse across the resistance R, so one ionizing particle enters. When one ionizing particle enters the GM tube, Geiger discharge will occur, and if Geiger discharge will occur, you will get a single pulse. So after this single pulse, the voltage must be reduced, because after the single pulse what happens is that positive ions will drift towards the cathode, and in this time we want that voltage should be low. So we will decrease the voltage when the first pulse is got across the resistance R. So this method consists of reducing the high voltage applied to the tube for a fixed time after each pulse. And this is reduced to a value that does not support gas multiplication. So we reduce the voltage across this GM tube is reduced to such a value that does not support gas multiplication. As we have said that for gas multiplication voltage must be above a certain limit. So if voltage across this counter is less than that limit, no gas multiplication will occur, there will be no avalanche. So we reduce the high voltage to a value that does not support gas multiplication after each pulse, and the method is by increasing the resistor R. Hence secondary avalanches cannot be formed. So if there is no gas multiplication, there will be no secondary avalanches. So if no Townsend avalanche occurs, there will be no triggering of another avalanche. So no secondary avalanches can be formed. And even if electron is created at the cathode, if somehow electron is released from the cathode, it cannot cause another Geiger discharge. So firstly we reduce the voltage so that positive ions, they hit the cathode wall with less amount of energy. And even if electron is released from the cathode wall, even if this happens, the Geiger discharge cannot occur due to this electron, because for the electron to cause Geiger discharge, electric field strength must be high, and we have reduced the high voltage already. So this electron will not cause further Geiger discharge. So for how much time the voltage must be suppressed? As we know that in the case of GM tube, the voltage must be very high so that Geiger discharge occurs for every ionizing particle entering the GM tube. But here we are saying that to avoid multiple pulses, the voltage must be reduced across the GM tube for certain time, for certain fixed amount of time. The voltage across the GM tube is reduced, So for how much time the voltage must be suppressed? As you can see that the positive ions, let's say the positive ion is formed over here, and this positive ion start drifting towards the cathode wall. So when this positive ion hits the cathode wall, the voltage must be low. And if this electron is released in this process, if this electron is released from the cathode surface, and when this electron reaches the anode, in that time also the voltage must be less. So there are two times. First, when the positive ion is reaching the cathode, so for that time voltage must be less, plus the time which this electron takes to reach the anode. So the voltage must be suppressed for a time which is greater than the transit time of positive ions, from its place of formation to the cathode. So from its place of formation to the cathode, the overall time that this positive ion takes, that time plus the transit time of free electron plus the transit time of this electron towards the anode. So the time for which voltage must be suppressed must be greater than the summation of these two time intervals. And how do we reduce the voltage? So simply choose capital R to be large enough, and this is chosen around 10 power 8 ohm. So if R is very high, then voltage drop when the first pulse is formed across R. So when the first pulse forms means when ionizing particle enters, Geiger discharge occurs, and the free electrons, large amount of electrons which are flowing in this circuit, so they will flow in the circuit. And if R is very high, the voltage across R, the voltage drop will be more. The voltage drop will be nothing but current into capital R. So if R is high, the voltage drop across capital R will be large. So if voltage across R is large, the voltage drop across GM tube will reduce. Using the Kirchhoff's law, you can understand this by Kirchhoff's law. So in this closed loop, the total voltage is nothing but voltage across R plus the voltage across the GM tube. So if the current is flowing in the circuit after the first pulse, if the current is flowing, the voltage across R increases, and hence the voltage across the GM tube will decrease. So due to which the positive ions, they will hit the cathode wall with lesser amount of energy, and if in case electron is released from the cathode wall, in that process if electron is released, this electron will not cause further Geiger discharge, and hence multiple pulsing will be avoided. Now we are going to study the internal quenching method. Now in the internal quenching method, we use additional gas. As we have said, we use a noble gas in the GM tube, but in addition to this noble gas, we use another gas which is called as quench gas. So in addition to the primary gas, so this primary gas is there, but in addition to this, we have quench gas. And this quench gas is chosen such that it has lower ionization potential and it has more complex molecular structure than the primary gas. So it has a complex molecular structure and it must have low ionization potential. Now the concentration of this quench gas in the GM tube is 5% to 10%. So if you have primary gas, so let's say 95% is the primary gas, the noble gas, plus 5% will be the quench gas. So the concentration of the quench gas varies. It can vary from 5 to 10%. And what is the purpose? Purpose of using this additional gas is to prevent multiple pulsing. As we have said that the quenching techniques are used to avoid multiple pulsing. So the purpose of using this quench gas is to prevent multiple pulsing, but it prevents multiple pulsing through a mechanism, and that is charge transfer. Charge transfer collision. So using this process, the multiple pulsing are avoided in the case of internal quenching. Now how does this additional gas avoids multiple pulsing? So let's say after the first Giger discharge has occurred in the GM tube, you have positive ions around the anode wire. So there are positive ions which are present around the anode wire. Now when these positive ions drift towards the cathode, during their path, they collide with the molecules of this gas. So when these positive ions of the primary gas, so these positive ions, they are mainly of the primary gas, which is the noble gas. So what do we want is that these positive ions should not hit this cathode wall with high energy, and it must not release electrons from this cathode wall. So how this internal quenching works? So you have argon gas over here, let's suppose, plus you have the quench gas. So this quench gas will have some molecular structure. Now when these positive ions are drifting towards the cathode, so during their journey they will collide with the molecules of this quench gas. And when they will collide with the molecules of the quench gas, they will transfer their charge. As we have said that this quench gas is chosen so that it has lower ionization potential, means it loses electron easily as compared to the primary gas. So for the case of positive ions, when they are moving towards the cathode, when they are colliding with the molecules of the quench gas, the molecules of this quench gas loses their electrons easily because they have lower ionizing potential. So when they will lose their electrons, that electron will be transferred to the positive ion, and you can say that we have transferred the charge. So this quench gas now, it will become positively charged, and this positive ion, this will get neutralized. So this positive ion, which was moving with a very high energy towards the cathode wall, during its journey, when it collided with the quench gas molecule, it transferred its charge to the quench gas, and this positive ion has become neutralized by taking the electron from the quench gas. So now you already know that in the electric field only the charged particles get accelerated and the neutral particles, they do not get accelerated. So now these quench gas ions, they start drifting towards the cathode. So earlier the positive ions of the primary gas were drifting towards the cathode wall, but when you have added the quench gas, in that case, when positive ions are drifting, they will transfer their charge during this collision, and this is called as charge transfer collision. So the positive charge will be transferred to the quench gas molecule, and now instead of this positive ion, this quench gas ion will be drifting towards the cathode. So the positive ions formed make collisions with the neutral gas molecules of the quench gas as they drift towards the cathode. So the positive ions, as they are drifting, they will make the collisions with the neutral gas molecules, and some of these collisions will be with the molecules of the quench gas. And because of the difference in the ionization energies, the positive charge gets transferred to the quench gas. So due to the difference in the ionization potential, as we have said that quench gas has a lower ionization potential as compared to the primary gas, so there is a transfer of charge. the electrons from the quench gas molecule will be transferred to this positive ion, and now this positive gas, the quench gas molecule will become positively charged. So the original positive ion is neutralized by the transfer of electron. So the original positive ion gets neutralized by the transfer of electron. The positive ion of the quench gas begins to drift instead. So now instead of this positive ion, the positive ion of the quench gas start drifting towards the cathode. When they reach the cathode, when these positive ions of the quench gas, when they reach the cathode, excess energy is released, or you can say the excess energy goes into dissociation of the complex molecule structure. As we know that the quench gas has a complex molecular structure. So when this positive ion of the quench gas reaches the cathode, when it collides with the cathode wall, the excess energy which is released, is used in the dissociation of the molecular structure of this ion or the gas. So this excess energy goes into the dissociation of the more complex molecule, and hence no free electron is released. So as these positive ions, they collide with the cathode walls, in that case free electrons could be released from the cathode wall. But when these ions of the quench gas, they hit the cathode wall, they collide with the cathode wall, the excess energy is not used in the release of free electron, but that excess energy is used in the dissociation of the more complex molecule. So that will be used in the dissociation of the quench gas molecule, and hence no electron is released from the cathode wall, which means no another Geiger discharge will occur, and hence you have prevented multiple pulsing using a quench gas. Now the internal quenching is also of two types. Internal quenching can also be done in two ways. First is organic quenching, and another is inorganic. In the case of organic quenching, we use organic gases like ethyl alcohol and ethyl formate. Ethyl alcohol they are used in the case of organic quenching. So many organic molecules possess the proper characteristics to serve as a quench gas. So many organic molecules, they have the properties to serve as quench gas, to work as a quench gas in the GM tube, and of these ethyl alcohol and ethyl formate have been widely used. Now because the quench gas gets dissociated, as we have said, that when the quench gas ions, they reach the cathode, the excess energy goes into the dissociation of the quench gas molecule. Means the quench gas molecule gets dissociated. So the quench gas gets dissociated in carrying out its function, due to which it is gradually consumed in the GM tube. So if the quench gas is getting dissociated, means the gas is getting consumed. Therefore, the GM tube has a limited lifetime in the case of organic quenching. So when these gases, they get dissociated, so due to their dissociation, the GM tube has a limited lifetime. So they get gradually consumed. So after some time, there will be no ethyl alcohol or ethyl formate. So for some time, the multiple pulses could be avoided using organic quenching, due to which the GM tube is said to have a limited lifetime. So we use another quenching method, which is inorganic quenching. So in this case, we use a halogen gas as the quench gas, like chlorine or bromine. Now the dissociation will occur in the case of chlorine and bromine gas also. But these dissociations, when these chlorine and bromine gas, they get dissociated, they spontaneously will recombine with each other. So the molecules chlorine and bromine, when they get dissociated, when they are working as a quench gas, when they will get dissociated, they will spontaneously get recombined again, and hence you can say that the GM tube, the halogen quenched tubes, the halogen quenched GM tube has infinite lifetime, whereas in the case of organic quenching, when you are using ethyl alcohol and ethyl formate, when they get dissociated, there is no recombination, and hence they get gradually consumed. So their concentration decreases with time, due to which the GM tube has limited lifetime. But in the case of inorganic quenching, the chlorine and bromine gas, they spontaneously recombine. If their molecules are dissociated in the GM tube, those molecules again recombine, and due to which we say that halogen quenched tubes, the halogen quenched tubes, they have infinite lifetime. Therefore, inorganic quenching is preferred over organic quenching.